Friends, thanks for opting in the video. I have a bunch I want to discuss with you today, and this is a trial run practice for Tyler and Brandon to review. So you opted in and you said, hey, what's this dude talking about? Why should I listen to him? Does he have anything to offer me? And here's first things first I'm going to tell you. I'm going to live by example. My leadership style is if we're in a foxhole and it's World War II and the bullets are flying, my leadership style is to be right next to you, firing back at the enemy on the front line. If you throw the first punch, I'm right there with you. Meaning, I live what I say. All of this is not just some conjecture of teaching, of saying, hey, you can't do, so you teach. No, this isn't a for sale training course. I'm never going to say anything. I really do all this to earn the free line with you. So as you grow your practice and you become a better loan officer, you want to partner with our company. You want to open branches with us. You want to work with us in our existing locations. Because at the end of the day, I have a skill set that, again, I think is unique, and I think I've learned it the hard way, which is I tried figuring it out on my own. Because here's the lesson that nobody will ever tell you about learning in life. You learn three ways, right? You learn from the school of hard knocks, aka the John Murphy method, arguably the worst way possible. Number two, you watch videos like this, right? You watch and then you take the nuggets that appeal to you and then you hopefully implement them at your speed. And lastly, you have a mentor, someone who doesn't care about what you think, right? They care about your input, but they say, hey, I'm going to show you the way because I've done it. And they take you by the hand and say, hey, follow me. Follow me at the best practices, follow me at the right way to do it. And most importantly of all, I will shortcut the time it takes you to get to point A to point B. Because the analogy I use with this is, again, like traveling the country. If you wanted to get to New York to LA, think about this. You have a lot of ways you get there. You could walk, right? Again, you could truly get there by walking. It might take you a couple months, but you get there. You could ride a bike, right? Maybe take you 8 weeks. You could drive, right? It takes you 5-6 days. Or you could get in a jet and get there in 2 hours, right? You go in the atmosphere, fly around, get there in no time, you're in LA. And the same thing is about how you think and learn. Because what most people do in life is they think they know better. I'm different, I'm important, right? So throw that out there. We're all the same, we're all people. If it works for me, it'll work for you if you implement it. What it means is that as you go through this training, I'm going to talk about these 3 things you got to focus on in 2022. You have to realize this. If you knew better, you'd have better. Right? If you knew better, you'd have every single thing you want. You'd have the marriage of your dreams. You'd have a six-pack, the body that you want, and your bank account would be stuffed with money. And you might just say, hey, man, I made it. I'm not listening to this yokel on the internet give advice about mortgages and running a mortgage business so he can eat shit and die. So, hey, if that's you, hats off. You made it. Send a DM. Maybe you will just do an interview or something like that. So I want to kick off the content real quick. There's 3 things we're going to talk about for 2022. Number 1, the market, right? The market's shifting. Number 2, the pivot. What are you going to do? What's this market movement mean? How are you going to pivot? And lastly, what are you going to focus on? The opportunity. And I think that's very important to talk through these things because a lot of things I've read online are forecasting sales, but they're not talking about what LOs need to do differently. Because if you don't change, the results don't change, right? What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result. So let's kick this thing off right here. So as we talk through the market, so here's the funny thing about 2021 and 2022. How many people have you seen a post online that said, it was my best year ever in the mortgage business? I broke all the records. Here's a little secret about business. It's always like real estate's location, location, location. Business is market, 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 right? So if you're selling to newspapers, right? Let's just remind yourself of this. If you're selling to newspapers, your business is going down, correct? Nobody's printing newspapers anymore. Print media is dying. It's tough. Maybe there's some magazines out there that are outliers, but if you're printing newspapers, right, it's a tough business. But now let me ask you a business 101 question. If you were to run a hot dog stand, what makes a successful hot dog stand? And here's what happens, and this is for the mortgage business. What makes successful hot dog stands? You're sitting there, write it down. And some people say location, right? Some people say the best ingredients. Some people say, what's another one? We have a special calling, a special item, right? Name it. But here's the truth. It's a group of starving customers. Because what makes them successful is that if you have an audience you can fill, you'll be successful. Right here. The mortgage business in 2020, 2021, we had a starving audience when rates dropped. So it wasn't you, it was the market, the market, the market. So when you have big results, what happens is you validate your beliefs on the world. Here, notice that? The victor writes the history books. That's kind of a story about time, about who writes it. And again, what I want you to think about this with the market is, how did your business get better? What new ideas did you implement last year? Or were you just saying, hey, I was so busy, I was just trying to grind through it? Either way, it's okay. But as the business pivots, you got to think about some things differently to plan for the future and enable your success. Because here's the first thing. First things first. Refis are a faucet. I.e., when they're on, just splashing water, getting it going, keeping it on, business is going great. But when they turn off, right, when the business turns off, you got to remember this. It's done. No more water. And that's what we're seeing here is that these refis have stopped. But what a lot of LOs forget is, oh, I'm chasing cash out. Oh, I'm in a direct channel. I only focus on refis. In my opinion, that's not a business. A true business has predictable results, predictable profits that you can count on, rain or shine, no matter what goes on in the business. So I want you to think about that. So the next thing is that I always say this. One is the market. Two is refis are a faucet. So it's always the allure of chasing refis, right? And number three is it's purchase, business, or die. I can never get over all the people who patted themselves on the back and then this year in 2022 had a terrible fall off January, because I have a software that track people's volumes. Yet that same person who said I came off the best year ever is saying the opposite now, where they're like, hey, if you're ever thinking about buying a new home, I'd love to work with you. Because you have to realize we knew this was coming. We knew the business was going to shift. The question you always got to ask yourself is, why did you think you were different, that it wasn't going to affect you? Because back to rule number one, it's always the market. So let's go to this next one right here, the pivot, right? So we have such a funny business, is that what other business in the world, when you talk about the pivot, talks about the past more than we do in the finance and real estate game? Who else talks about, I did this many transactions, this many sales? Because here's the first thing you got to think about. People don't buy for your reasons, right? People don't buy for your reasons, they buy for their reasons. So being a pro, a professional, doesn't mean you say, hey, here's my stats, here's my numbers, here's what I did, here's why I should work together. They work together first because they trust you, right? Trust is earned and easily lost. So in my opinion, when you post about how busy and badass you are, that loses trust. I think a better philosophy is I'm steady, always wanting more, wanting to work more, wanting to partner with people and have great relationships, than having all the fancy glitz, glamour, technology, whatever else you want to sell that are truly features and not benefits to the people who are working with you. Because at the end of the day, here's what people really want. They want trust. They want touch, meaning full service. Hey, I'm available to you. And lastly, they want easy digital end-to-end technology. So again, it's just hilarious as this. Point A of this whole thing is this. As we talk through the business, realize all your competitions post their numbers too. So if somebody said they did 20 million, it was their best year ever, and you did 400 million, who's a better LO? I can't ask the question, because when the market shifts, it shows all cards, and you might do some more business. You might have better relationships. But you can never get away from the fact that it's weird to post your numbers, and that as you pivot, nobody cares about your numbers, right? Nobody cares what you did last year. They care about right now. The things about transactional businesses like the mortgage business is we're much like football. Football always revolves around blocking and tackling, right? It'll never get away from that. So if you're somebody who's in the past talking about refis, oh, I focused on refis, I made a bunch of money. Nobody cares now, man. You got to shift. B, we have short memories in our business. I can't get over how many people forget just a couple years ago, in 2018, mortgage companies were losing money. They were losing money because, again, it was rate compression. They had too much scale, too much ops, too much overhead, not enough margin. It was all those things going into it. Yet going into 2022, people are like, mortgage business is the best business. Back to rule number one about the market is it's always about the market. It's always about the market. The market is the biggest driver in our business. It isn't us as the LO. We have to capture it and implement the best practices so we can monetize those markets and make sure that we have a business model that works within them. Don't forget that. It ain't you. It's the market, right? There's some strategies we can do, and we'll cover that, doing more volume. But again, I want you to think big picture here, and then we'll go to some micro items. Because cycles and trends, the mortgage business has always been cyclical. So again, what that means is when you have a great year, You plan for the bad year. When you're having a great year, you're already thinking about when it goes back to normal. It's always 2 steps ahead. And again, it's all about relationships versus transactions. Transactions come and go. Hey, I refied with this person. Okay, appreciate you. Who's somebody I can work with, etc. And what we forget is this very basic concept of cycles and trends. And let's talk about the pivot. Let's talk about change. Are you ready? Think about that for a minute. And again, if you're watching this video, pause the video and say, am I ready to change? Am I ready to do something different in 2022 than I did in 2021 and 2020? Do I need to get back to meeting with people in person? Do I need to do more Teams meetings? Do I need to do more digital? Do I need to do presentation to get more eyeballs on me? Because one of the hardest lessons, and this is the quote I took from Warren Buffett, is you got to remember this. The chains of habit are too soft to be felt until they're too heavy to be broken. Think about that. The chains of habit are too heavy to be felt until they're too heavy to be broken. Because what I've found in my life is a lot of people aren't ready to change. They all think they're more important, they all think they're different, and they all think they're unique. But guess what? To point number 1 of this entire thing, the market doesn't care, right? Because again, the marketplace wants to go where the value goes. Money flows to value, not to need, right? Because if the most needy people got all the money, we wouldn't have homeless people. They'd be wealthy. They'd say, hey, here you go. But again, the marketplace doesn't work like that. So think about these things as we talk about pivoting and changing. And now with this pivot, think about your model. A lot of ads you're going to watch online talk about being a broker. Oh, you'll make more money per loan. Again, retail. Oh gosh, we have the best company. And again, get the sleazy recruiters. Call me, join me. We've got this totally new whiz-bang cool thing that's going to change your life. And lastly is a profit and loss model, which again, we'll talk through these later. But you got to remember this. Going into 2022, your model doesn't matter. You know what matters? Serving the customer. Because when I watch the videos online, what I realize is that a lot of loan officers don't have a business plan. They're worried about how much money they're making per loan. They're worried about, is my company screwing me over? They're worried about some trick, some magic bullet, some shortcut. And here's the truth. All of that is irrelevant, my friends. Because again, as I said out of the hot dog stand analogy, who wins? We're always looking for those starving customers. And I'll show you who we need to focus on and talk through that. But again, we can go through each of these models because there's pros and cons to each. And then ultimately, here's the big thing. It doesn't matter, man. You got to move units. You got to get deals at the closing table. You got to get good results. You got to have great realtor partners. You got to have customers who love and care about you and your own. But what I find is we get so deep in the weeds on all these items here, and these will be a downloadable PDF too so you can see it. We get so lost in the weeds here that we forget who really matters. And it's always customer-centric. It's always realtor-centric, making sure we have great rapport with our partners and making sure that we're providing the best info to them. So don't forget that stuff. So lastly, for this training is let's talk about the opportunity. Here's the thing that nobody talks about enough when you're thinking about mortgage companies. And this is the truth. It's about one key driver of every mortgage company that separates the good from the bad and the results driven. It's number 1, it's leadership. If your company does not have leadership who is ground floor involved, it's very hard to be a super successful producer, right? Because back to lesson number 1, the market. Let's say your company has high rates and you're with a company that says, hey, we got to make this much to do the loan, otherwise we're not doing it. If you're a producer and that's your market, and let's say you're in a big city, dude, you're not going to stay with that company long because you're like, hey, I'm priced out of the market, right? Because your leadership doesn't get it. Next point, let's say you're at a super huge company and you're not a big producer, right? You do your 25, 30 million, and they say, hey, we only serve the 100 million. All the rest of that, you get lost in the shuffle, right? Hey, we'll see what we can do, but probably the answer is no. You got to realize this. Your success or failure for most people as a loan officer is all about leadership. Because here's an example. We all forget mortgage companies have only been cool as of the last 2 years. Before that, people didn't want to touch them. Lone Star, right, who owns Caliber Home Loans, literally tried selling this company for years and finally sold it for $1.7 billion to get it off their books. And now, what they saw when I read it, because I bought the stock of New Res, what I read is their expected cash-on-cash return is 14%. So in our market, what's their first move? They started laying off leadership, redundancy, right? What's probably what they're going to do next? They're probably going to cut operations down. These are not new strategies and new things, But back to the point before this, it's funny how we all forget these things. It's funny that we all think that the business has changed, my company's different. Again, that's why, historically speaking, a lot of companies have always exited the mortgage business and then got into it when it's hot and then exited it again. Because it's all about the numbers to investors. When you're a privately held company like ours, it's our baby. This is like our child. So when our LOs aren't winning deals, that hurts us. That hurts everybody in our company. So we aren't tied to per loan profit. We aren't tied to these things that, again, don't work. So again, so you got to think about that. All of these items right here are driven. And if you can see this, if it's too small, it says ops, pricing, culture, training. So think about that, right? If you're losing deals on price, that's either your comp's off, or worse, you don't have a model that, again, you're not pricing in and looking at where your competition is. Because again, it's like this. This is the funny thing about pricing that I think is hilarious. So many companies say we have low price. Well, guess what? In the mortgage business, if somebody goes online, they can find the lowest price possible, right? It's a race to the bottom. So you know what award you get when you're the second lowest price in the market? Nothing. Zip zero. Nobody cares. You lost, right? So think about this when you talk through price. And then culture, again, it comes from the top down. If your company isn't living it and they're not driving the same thing you are, you're always going to struggle, right? Because as we send these videos out, this is part of my culture. This is part of who I am as a human being, of pushing that free line. For Originator watching this and saying, John, you shot this video in a hoodie, and I'm like, yeah, man, it's 9:10 in Indianapolis. It's a blizzard outside, and I was going to wear a suit, but some of my other videos I do, but today to get this done, I just shot it off the cuff right here. Because the next thing about the opportunity, are you ready? Because like I said about changing habits, most people aren't ready to do it. Because the story I always say is about the tale of two friends. And this is a story I think is good for you. There's two friends, and we'll call them thank God I did versus I wish I would have, right? They both are in college, they both grew up together. So right out of college, in middle school, they were friends, and they go to high school. And they both want to make the football team. Freshman year, they both get cut. One friend says, screw football, I'm done. The second friend says, I'm never having this happen to me again. I'm going to go in the gym, lift, train all summer, right? Sophomore year comes, friend who trained all summer makes a spot. Other friend quits, whatever, I'll do it in the future, right? Thank God I did versus I wish I would have. So as they grow older, they both graduate and go to college. They're buddies, they're roommates, they're friends. Again, as they go further, they graduate school. They both get a job at the same company. The one friend who was the one who worked out and trained and made the football team comes back and goes, hey man, I got an idea. Let's start a business. We could do what these guys are doing better. Me and you can do it together. Let's go. I wish I would have says, whoa man, I'm not taking any risk. I don't want to participate in that. I wish I would have says, screw it man, I'm going by myself. So at that point, they kind of disjoint. They don't see each other for 25, 30 years. So I wish I would have sees his friend in a brand new Corvette. And he sees a beautiful wife and two kids in the back get out of this brand new Corvette. And I wish I would have sees, thank God I did, and says, whoa, what's been going on? He's like, man, I started my business. I worked really hard. There was a lot of bad years. It was very difficult. I put in the work. My lifestyle went down from there and actually got pretty bad for 2 or 3 years. But now business is booming. I've made it. And again, thank God I did. This I wish I would have. So what's the story of this, and why do I bring this up with the opportunity? Are you ready? Because the opportunity is here now as the market is shifting, that you can reinvent your business model today. And if that story appeals to you of, hey, I wish I would have versus thank God I did, you can switch it today and become a thank God I did. Because here's the thing about life. You can reinvent it in 1 minute. You just say, hey, new change, new story, I'm doing something different. I want to partner with somebody who cares about me when we talk through operations, pricing, culture, training, all of those things, technology. Because the thing of it is, nothing changes until you change. And that's why we're doing these videos. That's why we're posting these out. We're pushing them out. Free content, training. There's nothing to sell. Again, because we want to earn the right. We want to earn the right to work with you. We want to earn the right to battle with you. We want to earn the right to help you grow your company and your branch and put your arms around and work with us at MJW. Because this is the thing. When I got started in the business, I had no idea how difficult the mortgage business was. Because back to what I said earlier, the summer of your life is the summer of your best thinking. So you got to think about this. What would you wish you would have known now? What would you have wished you knew then that you know now? And that's where we're at as a company. We've perfected the single office loan model, and that's where you can go look up our numbers online. We did 525 million last year in 2021. We did 590 million, and we lost our producer in 2020. So again, as we talk through this and we look through these numbers and we talk about it candidly and open and honestly, that's who we're looking for. People who watch these videos and go, man, that guy with the whiteboard, I can't really see what it says, but I like his messaging. That's who I want to partner with. So when I come to your town, we meet with you and I fly in or drive in, or you come here in Indianapolis, and my message resonates with you, I'm looking for those people who are ready to get punch people in the face and win. Who want to make a change, who have an axe to grind, who want to do something different with their life and leave a legacy. Because that's where I'm at, right? I'm 38 years old, my third kid's about to be born, and it's very important to me with my life that I make a difference. And the way I make a difference is by bringing people into our world, our MJW world, where we have a common goal that we're all going for, and that's making a difference and driving great outcomes with customers, and again, making more successful loan officers. Because that is the greatest joy of my life, is having the privilege to work with the people on the other end of this camera. So this video has gone on long, but I want you to think about the items I did today and send me email, DM me, whatever works. We'll talk through it. But again, we are looking for the people that this messaging resonates with. So again, I hope you're having a great day. There's much more content to come, and let's connect soon.